Greetings and welcome to the June Founders Zoom. David Brown and myself are here hosting this. And if you're new to ACTIVZ, welcome. We do this each and every month on the 15th of every month. And the purpose of this Zoom really is for us to talk a little bit about the previous month, some things that stand out to us, what our trajectory is, our growth, and some exciting things that are coming down the pipeline here for the remainder of this month, as well as in the coming months. So welcome to this month's Founders Call. It's great to be with all of you. And David, why don't we go ahead and get started? Last month, you and I were just talking about May and what a remarkable month it was. We celebrated Mother's Day. This month, we're celebrating Father's Day. We had a great Mother's Day promotion. We're doing a Father's Day promotion. And it's been kind of fun to focus on moms and dads, but more than just moms and dads, we had a pretty remarkable month. Why don't you kick us off and tell us about what stands out to you for the month of May? How did we do as a company?
Well, hey Ryan, it's great to be with you and with everybody listening and watching today. There are some things I get tired of saying, but we had a record month is not one of them. And so it's great to say that but we've been saying that a lot in the past, 6 or 8 months. We've been saying, ACTIVZ had another record month pretty often, pretty frequently. And indeed, May was another record month with virtually all markets doing very, very well. And, Japan is still they're hanging in there, but with the severe COVID restrictions that are still in place and that have actually been redoubled because of them trying to do the Olympics, it's been tough on them to do business. But that's kind of been offset by these new emerging markets of Bolivia and Colombia that we are just finishing our official registrations, but we already have great people there rank advancing. We have A9s, we have A10s and A8s, and it's just unbelievable and remarkable, and especially gratifying to see that during this time of still great uncertainty, people are just saying, you know what, I'm not going to worry as much about the things I can't control, and I'm really going to focus on the things I can control, like building my ACTIVZ business, and many of them are doing just that.
Yeah, and that's great. You talk about Japan and the COVID restrictions, and we have some emerging markets that are involved in ACTIVZ south of the border, namely Colombia and Peru and Bolivia, who are also experiencing still some pretty dramatic restrictions imposed by the government and just trying to get COVID under control. The good news is we're seeing great progress. And as a company, our distributors are progressing independent of some of these difficult restrictions. Here in the US and in Mexico, the vaccine has been prolific and a lot of people are vaccinated. You see fewer masks, but you don't see fewer masks in Peru. You see as many masks now as you did, 6 months ago. But what's been great is in the month of May, we had great growth. We had great growth in our global direct markets. They grew, well over double digit. I think that we had 30 or 40% growth month over month in May. And global connect are primarily Colombia and Bolivia. And then we have a smattering of new distributors joining us in Panama, Ecuador, Dominican Republic, and Argentina, Chile, some other countries where people are able to join us as US distributors, order product out of the US, and they receive it. And so seeing that 40 to 50% growth was really exciting in the month of May. David, what stands out to me, and a few days ago, you and I had the opportunity to get on a Zoom and congratulate a lot of our new ranks, which we do every month. We normally start with our A8s and above. This month, we started with our A9s and above because there were just so many of them. And it was exciting because in the month of May, we had a really significant rank advancement, which we'll talk about in a moment, right? We had someone summit to the top, and you can all probably guess who that was. And but we also had a lot of people who've only been in the company 3 months, 4 months, 5, 6 months, and hitting the ranks of A8, A9, A10. And one person who stands out to me, David, we just talked about him last month. He was a new A8. Well, in April, in May, he hit A9, and it's Juan Carlos Hernandez. Something that he shared with me was really impactful because, you know, a few days ago we asked him, what's your plan for A10? You know, and he, for those of you who don't recall, he lost his mother to COVID, his wife, and, you know, he had to make one of those decisions in life that hopefully most of us won't have to make, but a very, very difficult one, which is, how do I go on? Can I go on in my life? And he pulled himself up by his bootstraps and said, I've got more to live for. And, you know, from the I don't want to say couch, from the mattress he was on, because he himself had COVID really bad, he began to make phone calls. And it took him about 4 months to reach the rank of A8. And over that period of time, he recovered from COVID and he's rebuilding his life. Well, what was exciting is that he just hit A9, David, you know, and that was, to say it's inspiring is an understatement. It's you know, I was awestruck when I saw that happen, and when we were able to talk to him and interview him and congratulate him for that rank. And I loved what he said, you know, is he talked about the ACTIVZ family. He talked about the support. He talked about how everyone has rallied behind him and have really buoyed him up during these difficult times. And specifically, he said, you know, here's what we're doing this month, and here's how I'm going to get to A10 in the month of June. Everybody in my group, we have a list of 10 people that are pre-qualified, who have the word he uses is profile, who have the profile of a leader, whether through their experience or they're entrepreneurs. And we do three-way calls, right, with them. We have the person who knows them, three-way calling them, immediately putting them on with another business partner. Partner could be upline, downline, sideline, doesn't matter, as long as someone can do that validation call. And he says the success rate that we're having is 8 out of 10 of these people that we call are joining ACTIVZ. They're joining our business. And I remember translating that for you and for other members of the team, right, who didn't catch it when he said it in Spanish. And I was just thinking, that is incredible, David. I have not ever heard in 25 years of experience in the network marketing industry, I've never heard anything like that, that level of success. And it has everything to do with the fact that they believe so much in the cutting edge technology that we have, right? And what makes us different and unique, right? Our foundation of epigenetic science. But also, they've shared with me that, you know, here in Colombia, we don't have any other options, right? And people are looking for opportunities. So they're growing fast, and universally, this is kind of funny what they've told me. They said, Ryan, we work like politicians here. The reason why we're growing so much is we're working like politicians. And if any of us, you know, watch politicians around campaign periods, or, you know, when we're getting ready to vote for the next president, we know that they work pretty hard. And he said, that's our secret, is we work like politicians. So for me, when I think of May of 2021, boy, you know, it's the story of Juan Carlos Hernandez. It really stands out in my mind. And these incredible achievements that would seem unlikely or impossible, but they're possible and they're happening. And the reason why I'm sharing that with everybody on the Zoom is you need to hear those stories. You need to know that that kind of growth is happening all over our company right now. And it just requires digging deep and following the example of people like Juan Carlos Hernandez, right? Who has decided that he doesn't have other options. He is locking arms with like-minded people, and they're really fostering this environment of team, this spirit of team and what it means to be on a team. And they're making team to sound a little bit more like family, but that's what's working. That's what's working. So that was exciting for me, David. Anything that stands out for you in the month of May, and maybe let us know what you're seeing for June. How are you feeling about how things are playing out right now?
Well, June is off to a great start. And, you know, you mentioned Juan Carlos, who certainly is inspirational and provides us all with something to look towards and say, wow, if he can do it under those circumstances, why am I not achieving the goals and accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish? But he decided, you mentioned he decided that he was going to move forward and do what he could. And it reminds me of this past active school, English active school, a few days ago on Saturday, where surprisingly, a little bit, Dr. Earl said the same thing. He didn't just talk about the products. He didn't just talk about the medical research behind all the products. He actually mentioned something at the very beginning of his presentation about just deciding what is it that you want. Do you want better health? Do you want more disposable income? Do you want to touch the lives of other people? And if you truly want it, you'll go and get it. It's kind of interesting. If we were to put a bottle of let's say Optimend on the counter by someone who is, always complaining about how sore they are, and they never make the effort, despite all their complaining and reminding you all the time about how they want to feel better, but they never try it. Well, at a certain point you say, why don't you open the cap and take some capsules and try it, right? And by the same token, when I hear people who say, I really want to change, I really want this, and yet they're not doing the things that Juan Carlos is doing. They're not doing the things that people who are succeeding are doing, because even though there's a lot of differences, we have people that are in small towns, we have people who are in large cities, we have people in different countries. But I'll tell you, to me, there is a common denominator of success. And it's not that they become experts on the product. It's not that they become experts in the comp plan. It's because they have a will to succeed, and they are going to do whatever it takes. And what they do have is a plan. Now they change their plans, and if some things work better than others, then they make changes. But they aren't content to just sit back and say, well, I'll dabble a little bit here and I'll dabble a little bit there. That makes about as much sense as this person in pain deciding to take one capsule one day, but skip a few days and not try it again. And if you really want the benefits of the product, you better take it every day, and you better take them more than once a day. And why we think that strategy wouldn't work, or isn't necessary, I should say, for other things that we want to achieve, it's kind of crazy. And so for anyone listening who might be thinking, wow, the company's growing like that, these people, despite some severe challenges, they're succeeding like that, why aren't I succeeding? Well, maybe the way to look at it is maybe because of their challenges, they're succeeding. You mentioned the people in Colombia say, this is it. We don't have any other vehicles. We've got to do something. This is our ticket. And if everyone listening to this today says, this is my ticket, okay, maybe I have other resources. Maybe my lifestyle is better than someone who's really suffering in one of these other countries. That's not the issue. Where you're at is not the issue. Where you want to be and your desire to get to where you want to be, that's the issue. And if you simply to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes, if I've got to change some habits, if I've got to spend more time, if I've got to humble myself and look at what other people are doing and do what they're doing, I'm going to do it. Because if not, well, it's fine. You'll still have a happy life, we hope, but you're going to be regretting a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you'll be saying, man, I was there in the early days of ACTIVZ. And I saw all these people doing this. I should have done better. I could have done it. I should have done it. And then you'll be either saying, and I did it, or I didn't do it. Here's hoping that people are going to say, and I did it, despite the difficulty of circumstances.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I think that you're right. I think that sometimes when we close doors, right, it helps us focus on the door ahead of us that's open, and limiting options. We talk about having more options, but I see the people that are having great success right now, they've limited their options, right? They don't keep all these doors open and get distracted. They stay focused on the path ahead and on going through the door that they want to be open, which is active. So, we've got to say it, David, because in the month of May, and it seems like all of June has been one giant celebration, and we're growing fast. today it's the middle of the month. We're up about 20% month over month, which is incredibly exciting. I checked, the other day, we were up 80% in our global Connect markets. So, we really got to take our hats off to the people down there in Bolivia and Colombia specifically, but Mexico is growing. The US is growing. Peru is growing. For the first time in a long time, we have great growth in all these markets. Like you said, Japan is really learning how to overcome the challenges of COVID, and they're hanging in there. So kudos to them. But the big news that we need to talk about is we have a brand new legend A16 in the company, Martin Lira. Many of you know him. Some of you may not know because he doesn't speak English, and so he's not ever on any English calls. But if you've probably heard of his name because he makes a lot of noise. He's a hard worker. He's somebody who joined the company 3.5 years ago. I never knew him from before. David, you never knew him from before. We knew many of our distributors, going back 8 years or so, but Martin was an unknown quantity, and he's an interesting person. For those of you who don't know anything about him, he didn't join us with a team of people. He didn't have a team of people with him. It was he, his wife. At the time, his son was 18 years old, almost 19. He had a son who was 14 and a young daughter who was about 6 or 7 years old. And nobody wanted to hear from him because he had been involved in other direct selling companies, and they just didn't want to hear from his friends. And so what Martin did, and this is my earliest memories of him, are about him telling the story about how he would walk into these salons and boutiques, introduce himself, and talk a little bit about the project that he had, right? A little bit about, not to sell the product, but about what uniquely differentiated the product, and that it was something that didn't exist in the market. He, 1 or 2 words about epigenetics, and then he asked for referrals. He said, who here knows somebody who is interested in improving their health? Who here knows somebody who has been successful as an entrepreneur, or specifically in the direct selling industry? And that's what he did. That was his strategy. So if you don't know who he is and how this guy reached A16, that's the first thing he did. The second thing he did is he kept doing that. He didn't stop. And he eventually found people who wanted what he wanted, right? They wanted to survive. They wanted to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and they were willing to do whatever it took. And so, 1 year went by, a second year went by, a third year and a half, and he reached the summit of A16 with more than $1 million in monthly sales in the month of May. And if you want to talk about transformation, get to know Martin and look at his lifestyle today compared to what it was 3.5 years ago. I remember, David, early on, it's probably the latter part of our first year, could have been our second year, he outworked everybody. That's his secret, right? He doesn't have some secret system or video or some secret button that he pushes for success, because none of those things exist. He outworked everybody, right? It's work ethic. It's good old-fashioned work. He got up in the morning and he worked all day long and at night. And he talks about on Christmas, right? His kids would open presents, and then he would go to the other side of the house and he would be in a presentation, right? That was his mindset. He was all in, and all in means you're all in, right? It becomes priority number one. And today, he's A16. His wife is almost A13, Susanna Ortiz. His son, who's now 22, is an A11. His son, Johan, who's now 18, is an A6. Their combined income is not only much higher than the average person in Mexico, it is leagues higher than the average American, right? It is certainly in the top of the 1%ers. So, we got to take our hats off to Martin Lira, and congratulations for showing that hard work and vision and commitment can accomplish great things. The other thing, that maybe the last point that I want to share on this founders call about him and about May, is that in the month of June, what we're seeing is a groundswell of growth, huge growth right now is occurring. People are excited for what we have in July because we have some new announcements that we're going to be sharing with you on the 24th of July at a virtual event being broadcast live virtually from the ABC affiliate in Salt Lake City. But a lot of people are running right now. We're having a Spanish-speaking ACTIVZ Academy in September. You mentioned a couple of days ago, we had an ACTIVZ school in English. In just a few days from now, on the 19th, we'll have an ACTIVZ school in Spanish. So I think everybody on this call knows someone who speaks Spanish. Invite them, get them on the Zoom. It's at 9 o'clock Mountain Time. It will be 2 hours. We have an A13 and A12 presenting, Noemi Garcia and Lucy Serra. And then we have a special guest who's a renowned author and personal development coach named Francisco Yanez. You can look him up and Google him. So make sure that you're getting everybody into that school. It's on the 19th. Like I said, that's 4 days from now. And you won't regret it. And it will go very far to help you build your business. Back to Martin Lita, David, and this is all I want to say. I feel like I'm taking up a lot of time. But he's a real servant leader. And I want to share that because sometimes there's confusion as to, well, what is ACTIVZ? I mean, we talk about product, we talk about NRF2 activation, we talk about microbiome health, we talk about, the anti-inflammatory benefits of tetrahydrocurcumin with Optimin. We talk about Amora, we talk about this incredible product, Era, which is kind of, taking our company by storm right now. Well, those are that's what distinguishes us. Those are what make us unique. And I like to delineate between two things, because if it's confused, then we confuse the marketplace. A lot of people say, well, that's what we sell. We're out selling those things. And that's not what we're selling. We are talking about them. We're marketing them. We're exposing the science behind it, the unique points of differentiation. But what are we selling, right? Well, I think what we're selling is what Martin Lita is selling, right? We're selling what he has just accomplished, which is the dream of a lifestyle, right? It's an independent distribution franchise. It's the opportunity to get involved, to share with others the story of these uniquely differentiated epigenetic products. But you're not looking for end consumers necessarily, right? They come as you look for partners, for business partners, as you do what Martin did in the early days, which is walk into a hair salon and ask, who here knows somebody that is looking to work for themselves, that wants to work from home, that has had success in the direct selling industry. And if you could do me the favor and introduce me to them, I have something that they will want to get their hands on. That's what we sell. And so when you make that delineation, it makes a world of difference. Don't confuse the two things, because if you lead talking about, hey, I've got a great product called Link, people are going to think that you want to sell them a product called Link. If you talk about your company and that you're introducing into the marketplace uniquely differentiated epigenetic products, but you're looking for people to help them launch their independent distribution franchise, well, now the conversation changes. And I want to share that on this founders call because I'm noticing a difference between people who are really growing and exploding and people who aren't. The people who are growing and exploding are marketing the way I just demonstrated. So make sure you keep that in mind. And as you do that, focus on other people. Focus on what their needs are. Don't focus on what you want to accomplish, on what your needs are or your desires. Focus on what your people want to accomplish. If your next door neighbor is working, 2 jobs and sees his kids his or her kids 4 or 5 hours a day or a night, show him a way that he can spend more time with his family, right? So focus on their needs. And when I talk about Martin Lita, he's a servant leader. That's all he does. He finds out what his people want and he helps them accomplish it. That's how he hit A16. That's it. There's no other secret. If you ask him right now, what did you do? He's going to say that he works hard and he helps his people achieve their goals. It's that simple. And I know it's frustrating sometimes to hear that because people want the secret sauce. That is the secret sauce. That's the secret sauce. Try it out. So David, what are any final words before we kick off the latter part of this month?
Well, I think that I'll just correct you on one thing. Martine had one magic thing. That magic thing was a green, broken down car. You remember?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I remember about.
Absolutely.
In addition to telling the story about the salon, he had a no pun intended, a driving desire to improve his life, because he had a car he couldn't really drive very well. It was an old broken down green car that would break down many of the times when he was out with his family and he was worried about their safety. And that was one thing that drove him. He wanted to get a new car. I remember how excited he was when he was able to, through building his business, to get a new car, a safer car for his family to use. And that was, it's really interesting. You said some things earlier. Martine had been in other companies where he had not succeeded. It took him some time to figure this out. And he'd kind of, like everyone else, he'd burnt through his quote warm market. He didn't really, and he could have said, like so many of us do, you know what? I just don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. I'm not good. I can't do things online. I don't know how to do this. I've got all my friends turn around and walk the other way. My family doesn't invite me to parties anymore. I'm referred to as Uncle Martine, who always is trying to get something going. And he just said, I don't know how he came up with that idea to go into salons. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everyone, but what I would recommend is do something different. If what you're doing, the game plan, every coach that I know of for any sport has a game plan going into a game. But if they're losing at halftime, guess what? That game plan goes out the window. And virtually anything different that they try is going to be better than what they were doing, because they're losing and they weren't working. And so he decided to do a new game plan. And I think that what's also interesting is what you said, Ryan. The products are wonderful, but we have to make sure that we realize that they are vehicles. And the vehicles, because I've been in the nutritional supplement space for so long and have known these scientists, if I was simply interested in my own health and in my family's own health, you know what? I could have just started buying these companies. Or buying these products from the scientists. I could have said, listen, what I want to do is I want to fill my garage up with stuff, and I'm just going to create my own business where I'm going to, sell out of my garage, and I'm going to sell on Amazon, and I'm going to do all these type of things. And if I'd done that, I just would have created a bad. It's like buying a 7-Eleven. All you've done is buy yourself a bad job. And so it's like, why would I want to do that? Instead, it was a much better idea to team up with you and to say, okay, what can we do together? How can we build a team that's going to help us build ACTIVZ? I mean, frankly, we wouldn't be nearly as successful if we didn't have a team of people around us helping to build ACTIVZ. And the same thing is actually true of every single person who wants to build their ACTIVZ business. If you limit it just to what you can do, I'm not saying you don't have great, tremendous capabilities, but at a certain point, you're going to reach a limitation. If you can lock arms with someone else and not in order to make you successful, but say, let's do this together. Let's both succeed and let's help other people to succeed. You'll simply do exactly what we're doing. We're simply looking for other people to help us provide these benefits to other people. And then the magic happens. And there's been a lot of magic happen. I think that June's going to continue to prove that out. July, we've got wonderful things going on. It may sound a little bit today like I've been in kind of preaching mode, saying, hey, there's more that you can do. And I guess I have been kind of, because I've been seeing these inspirational examples of accomplishment. I'm seeing people's lives change. And if I have one I can be a little impatient, Ryan, as you know, but I guess my impatience stems from, I want everyone to be able to do that. And there is certainly a way, but no matter how much I want it, or no matter how much you want it, it's really driven from within. But we can promise people, because now we know that, we have the science and the testimonials to back up that the products work. We have the testimonials and the proof that the business works. We've got A16s, we've got A15s, we've got every rank represented and people succeeding in all walks of life. And so all somebody's got to ask themselves is, okay, why not me? It's my turn. I'm going to reach for the brass ring. These type of opportunities don't come around every day. This is mine, and I'm going to make it happen. And then at that point, you say, I'm not sure how. At that point, reach out and help other people do it. And you'll, it's like there's an old Quaker, John Greenleaf Whittier, who said, "You lift me, and I'll lift thee, and we'll both ascend together." And I don't know why I know that quote, but it stuck with me for a long time, because I really believe in, if we do this together, we'll lift each other up. And I guess that's the message we're really ultimately saying. The people who have succeeded in ACTIVZ so far have not done it on their own, have not had a secret sauce, as you say, have not had a magic feather like Dumbo. They just simply did little things every single day consistently and helped other people do the same thing. And so that's our message today. We hope everybody continues to have a great month. We're looking forward to seeing you, if not in person, at least via Zoom and every other technological resource that we're using these days. And we hope that you and your families are safe and have a great rest of the month. Back to you, Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Thanks for those words. And I'll just echo what you said. We share the stories of these successful distributors for a reason. We want it to become contagious. I think sometimes there's a barrier, a language barrier, right? We have Spanish-speaking leaders, we have English-speaking leaders, but it's important that everybody here understand what's going on, how these people are succeeding, right? And without repeating what you said, David, I will just echo that I agree, and I endorse that message wholeheartedly. I shared the story of Martin Lida. When I say servant leader, it means that he looks out how to and finds the needs of other people and helps meet those needs. That's my challenge. I'll issue that challenge and that invitation to everybody watching this: is dig deep and go find out what your people want. Go find out what your next door neighbor wants to accomplish, or your mother-in-law wants out of life. And if they're not doing it, you have the answer, you have a solution, right? If it has anything to do with improving their personal economy, right? Or improving their health, you have a solution for that. So don't sell yourself short, right? Understand what you've got in your hands. And it's interesting, when David, you said they don't have a secret Dumbo feather or secret sauce. The truth is everybody who's succeeding believes that they do have a secret, or that they have that Dumbo feather, and it has to do with their belief, right, in this opportunity, in the cutting edge, highly differentiated epigenetic products that make us unique. So if you don't believe, right, maybe go visit the man or the woman in the mirror and find out what that person believes in, find out what they want, and don't leave that fellow or woman in the mirror until you believe, right? That's actually the most fundamental step here, right? You've got to believe that what we have is special and unique. And I can tell you that it is. There's no company out there right now in the world that has the lineup of scientists behind them like we do, who are truly competent, who have published, who have spent decades developing and formulating, engaging in R&D. So if there's any doubt in your mind, well, there shouldn't be. Just go visit pubmed.gov and put their name in, and you'll see articles published by them. You'll see what they've published. Do a little bit of research on them, and do that to build your own belief. So if you're feeling like you're not quite there, well, start there, right? Start with building your belief, and everything else will follow. And just to kind of end, I read a book years ago by Jack Welch, who is a successful mentor and CEO. He said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, or to do more, then you are a leader. And I like this because it really embodies sort of Martin Lida and all the other leaders that we have in this company. Christina Godoy, who was our first legend A16, now Martin Lida, and we have all these other people stepping up. It's just about inspiring others, helping others learn more and accomplish more, and become a leader. If you've never fancied yourself a leader, do it. No one's going to show up and knock on your door and hand you a magic wand and say you're now a leader. Just got to do it. So that's my message. And I'm going to end with that. Happy June. Let's all end strong. Make sure that you invite people to the events. Like I said, the 19th, we have a Spanish Active School. We have a Spanish Actives Academy down in September in Guadalajara. We'll have an anniversary meeting in November. Make sure you join us on the 24th of July. It will be a 2 hours in English, 2 hours in Spanish, Zoom live broadcast from the ABC affiliate in Salt Lake City. We will be announcing some new things. Believe me when I say you won't want to miss it. So that said, thank you very much, David. It's great to see you again, as always. And let's have a great rest of our June.
Thanks,
Take care,
everybody.
everybody.
See you later.